To you. So, one of the frustrations of the finance minister when he was making that address inside the room was the issue of revenue collection. And you have been covering the SARS issue for the longest time now. What is this saying is perhaps the outlook in as far as the revenue service is concerned?
So I think one of the key elements that came out from Tito Mbowene's address this morning was the fact that there is a massive, revenue shortfall and revenue collection. And this is something that we did see earlier this year. And that is also why we saw a VAT increase of 1% earlier this year, because they are trying to get more money. Government is trying to increase its revenue collection. And that is obviously attributed to the fact that we saw a massive revenue shortfall of 50 billion rand from SARS, and government cannot afford to have a further revenue shortfall given the fact that we have such high unemployment rates, poverty is just increasing, inequality as well. And this meeting, I think there was a lot of frustration from journalists specifically, because the big question is this just another talk shop? What is actually going to come out of this? What is the tangible evidence that we are going to see from this colloquium with all these professionals, government departments, economists from around the world and South Africa? What are we actually going to see coming from this? We couldn't get much from the finance minister. He basically just said that this meeting is going to set the basis of what needs to be done and what will be taken back to cabinet next year, January, and what will be the tangible evidence and results coming out of this meeting. Not much coming out from his address and from delegates here this morning, because now it's closed off to the media, but they are trying to deal with the fact that we need economic growth. We need a boost in economic growth to deal with the major issues that this economy faces.
Heidi, just before my colleague comes in, Devon, to ask you a question of his own, I just want to put to you something that was said by the finance minister during the address inside the room, where he said that one of the ongoing discussions inside cabinet is whether South Africa is following the correct growth path. And I imagine this is probably going to be one of the key discussions inside that colloquium. And he also went further to say whether the cabinet of Cyril Ramaphosa and perhaps many administration before that are thinking outside of the box. That's quite a mouthful. It's a pregnant statement, I would say.
So, I mean, that was quite shocking, given the fact that, we do have very low economic growth. We aren't growing as we should. And Finance Minister Tito Mbowene basically speaking to the fact that, are we looking at the right policy proposals? Are we looking at the right way to grow the economy? Is cabinet and is, different government departments that contribute to economic growth thinking out the box at all? Or are we just stagnating and just doing things as we previously did, which is not contributing as it should to economic growth? And I think that is something that this colloquium will really dive into, given the fact that we do have a massive revenue shortfall. The economy is not growing as it should. And they really need to re-strategize, if I can put it that way, shift gears and look at other ways to grow the economy. And this is probably why they've invited two Harvard professors. And, you heard the minister saying that it's not just Harvard professors that have been invited to this meeting, but other professionals, other academics, business partners have come to this meeting to try and figure out if looking at economic growth is done properly, because we really have a massive economic growth problem. Our economy is just growing between 0.5% and 0.8% this year, and it should be way above that. So, Finance Minister Tito Mboweene really addressing the problem and saying that we need to look at things differently. But the major question and the major concern for us is whether or not these policy proposals will actually be implemented. I was actually speaking to Yanni Rousseau, professor at Wits, and he was saying to me that we've had many of these discussions before, but what is actually going to be done to deal with these problems and to deal with the fact that the economy is not growing the way it should?
And Heidi, I would imagine it's those specifics that come under the microscope so often, because if you look at business leaders, Tito Mboweni, the finance minister, telling us just moments ago, the manufacturing circle should have been there. These are the guys that build the factories, that expand businesses, that get jobs in there. And one question from some of the journalists just a few minutes ago again says, well, tell us about those specific proposals, because from a business point of view, if you do not have those specifics, it doesn't stimulate confidence. And clearly, we've heard the Reserve Bank governor said the cheapest form of stimulus is confidence. And Heidi, I put it to you, it looks like those proposals are hard to come by from the finance minister. He hasn't given away anything, has he?
No, I mean, we didn't get much from the finance minister. We just got the fact that they are all meeting today to discuss very important policy proposals that they will take to cabinet to try and stimulate economic growth, to boost economic growth. And he did mention the fact that the manufacturing circle should have been here, because the question posed to him was, you know, where are business partners, where are business leaders in this meeting? And you have a room filled with professionals, academics, business leaders, government officials, and he did mention that this is not a cabinet meeting, and he wants people from different walks of life and business leaders and so forth that need to contribute to this meeting to add, you know, their frustrations, their challenges, and their ideas, fresh ideas, to you know, stimulate economic growth and to contribute to it, because you know, it cannot carry on this way. We need our economic growth to be boosted and to you know, to increase, given the fact that we have such high unemployment rates. We need to decrease poverty and inequality in this country, and this is a meeting to try and stimulate that and to bring all these ideas together to actually put something on paper and something concrete that can drive this economic growth.
All right, Heidi Jokas, so we're going to leave it there with you for the moment. Thank you very much for giving us the tidbits